Thank you for tuning in to the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte. This is Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the Marriage Coach. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. for tips and advice on all matters of marriage. Be sure to like us on Facebook by searching for Marriage Matters so that you can stay abreast of topics, ask questions, or comments during our interactive segment of Marriage Matters. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.ittakes2marriagecoaching.com for more information on our services. Our show sponsor for today's show is It Takes Two Marriage Coaching. It Takes Two provides individual marriage coaching as well as group marriage coaching through marriage retreats. Our show sponsor for today's show is S. Hyatt Photography, serving Lexington, Kentucky and surrounding areas. Contact Sid Gentry by going to her website at www.shayatphotography.com. Find her on Facebook by searching for Photography by S. Hyatt or call 859-552-3261. Now through December 15th, all portrait sessions booked will be $100. And that includes a 45-minute session on location and with a disc with up to 20 images. This is a great opportunity to get updated family photos or capture any special milestone memories. All right, welcome back to Marriage Matters, and thank you for tuning in with us today. I've got a few guests in the studio with me that were here with us last week, and we're going to be wrapping up our conversation around spirituality, church, religion, and sex, and how it affects, or maybe not, affects our marriages so much. So just as a reminder, I've got Shantia. Shantia, you in the house with me?
I'm here.
I've got Miss Tamara. You in the house with me, Tamara?
I'm here.
And our only husband holding it down for us.
I'm here. Tyron's here.
Thank you all for being back. So we're going to jump right into this because when we ended off last week, we were talking about, we had kind of gotten off on a conversation about the expectation that women have when we come into a marriage in regards to sex. And we were talking about how it's pretty much expected that a woman is going to satisfy her man at the drop of a dime. She's going to make it happen. I think somebody else said every time it comes up, it's her job to get it back down. And our husband in the studio was like, that's interesting because you were pretty much unaware that was the way we were raised.
Correct.
So, question for you. What were you taught? So, let's let go of spirituality for a moment. Where were you taught from your parents about sex? Tyron.
I was taught, of course, as we discussed last week, that you hold out, first of all, and you wait until marriage. But if you do, always protect yourself. I was taught, of course, once you have sex, then you start at the risk of sexual transmitted diseases and having babies and all what I would call truths, but scare tactics.
That's a good way to put that.
To prevent you from, from having sex at an early age. It didn't stop me, but, I was cautious and careful for what I did. But I was never taught, as we discussed last week, that a female should be ready when you're ready. Or you dictate what actually goes on. Because in my book, I was taught that's rape. So, if she's not ready, then you're not ready, that type of thing.
Okay.
And so I think that actually more so leads into the way I am now, because when I am with my wife, I always make sure that, she's ready. If she's not ready, I back off. If, if she doesn't want to or anything like that, I back off. I'm not, that's why I said, where y'all learn y'all stuff at? Because,
I can give you the name of the pastor, but I won't unless you want me to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was taught that you function at the junction, that you give your husband what's called an access pass. This means I'm not really into it. I'm tired. However, you can turn the lights off and cover me up when you're done.
What? Wait, is this
I
real?
can't do that.
You really learned this?
If you need,
See,
right.
that
I
won't
never
work for
heard
me.
that though.
But now you have to keep a special box right under your bed that has all of your, your smell goods and your quickies, freshen up so you can be ready for him. But there's an actual kit you're supposed to it's all about him and making sure he's
and
okay.
your pastor taught you this.
Yeah, because if you don't, it's possible
You're
that
wrong.
the lady in the red dress shows up and you left the
just
door
go,
open.
Wow.
Yes. Now, and I
Now
wasn't.
I've never heard it from
No.
that angle though.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I was gonna say I never had those exact words, but that was the insinuation that was given to me. That if I wasn't there and if I wasn't willing, then there's always somebody else that is.
Yes.
And if I want to be sure that he didn't,
Step
roam
outside.
or step out, then I need to make sure I took care of home. Now, I just want to put a little plug in that that's sexist to me.
Okay.
Because that man needs to be on it just the same. And whereas I don't know too many females that just roam because of sex, like I really find that, that usually doesn't. It's not just that. Whereas men are more sexual.
However, women
beings.
do use sex as a tool and a weapon more
To
than
get
men
it.
do. And I think that's
10-4.
what the teaching was for, to let you know
Manipulative.
you don't hold that.
Yes.
You hold your mouth. You might try to, talk it out if you can, but if you mad, you still function. Don't let that be a reason for you, because we'll get an attitude and be like,
Got to do your
no,
wifely
don't
don't
do
duties.
do that to him, because he's not like us.
Don't
They're,
hop on the
they're
couch,
different
dude.
than
Right.
we are.
They're physical.
And if you reject them, then that's a whole nother blow to the brother.
It's called your wifely duties.
My
Oh, really?
wifely duty.
Your
Now,
wifely
see, he
duties.
said that.
Right. I'm like, that's somebody
he
taught you
knew it.
something like
Exactly.
You know,
that.
your wifely duties. I mean, it's just like we have husbandly duties that we have to make sure that we do as well, as a husband, at the same time you have wifely duties that you need to be able to perform, but not necessarily when we're ready, because if that was the case, yeah. I'm just going to be quiet on that one. because-
Yeah, be quiet on that one because
Again, different libidos, so sometimes you have that.
yeah.
So I'll
no
say
accounting for
this,
that.
and I want to know what y'all's thoughts are about this. So I have a girlfriend, and her and I are pretty tight, and we grew up very different. And so she grew up in a very religious, spiritual household as well. But her mom, though, taught different than her church taught about sex. And one of the things that she said her mom did that really helped her to be in tune with herself was that she told her, I don't want you to have sex until you're married. But until then, let me tell you things you can do to satisfy yourself, because your need for sex is going to increase as you get older. Your hormones are going to start kicking in. You might start feeling a certain kind of way when you're around a little boy. Maybe you be watching something and you get a little twinkling between your legs. Like she was actually explaining to her daughter that you're going to have some biological things that are going to happen to your body when you feel a certain kind of way. And I need to explain to you how you're going to respond to that.
That is awesome. I'm going to tell you why I think that's awesome. And I think I kind of giggled because this is my act 2. I was married for 10 years in my first marriage. When I got my divorce, I went to live with my mom for about a year. And my mother had this talk with a 38-year-old woman. And I would have turned 3 types of purple if I could blush. But she was telling me, sweetie, you're by yourself now, so it's all right to explore your body so you know what you like. So when you get to the next mister, it won't be any questions, so you won't forget and be out of practice. And I'm like, oh my God, Mom, no. I don't want to have this conversation.
Uh-huh.
But
she was right.
She was trying to help me. So it's interesting that that's the teaching of your friend, because that is, I guess the teaching of my mom right now.
Now, did your mom start talking to you about that? Because she was saying that these conversations were occurring when she was a teenager. Like her mom was telling her, like, look, I don't want you to have sex, but I'm not going to lie to you and pretend like you're not going to want to. You're not going to have feelings to. Things aren't going to happen that
No,
make
my
you want
mama didn't talk about it back then.
Okay.
But she talked about it after coming out of that marriage
Right.
to make sure.
So she was able to acknowledge it then. So here's my question for you all. So, and I don't know how many of y'all have daughters. I got 3.
I do. I have to.
I got one that's 14 now, and it's just like raising her has just like been such a test of all my skills. Like I thought I had it all together, thought I really knew what I was doing until
Get a
probably when she
teenage
turned
girl
about
and it'll
12.
change it for you.
And I'm like, whoa, what in the world? I don't even know how to respond. I need a book. Somebody pray. SOS. Like I'm calling out all kinds of things. Like I need some help. And so I'm curious, one, did your parents talk to you at all about things to, or your church even, about things to do even though they didn't want you to be having sex? Maybe some things you can do to help when that feeling arises. And also, would you talk to your children in that same way? Or is that something you think might be a bit too much? What's your thoughts?
I actually have, I have a daughter that's now an adult. And so we've gone through the changes.
Okay.
And then I currently have a teenage daughter. And I would bring up conversations with them But like my daughter that now is with me, she like, Mom, I don't want to talk about that. Mom, I don't want to talk
Now,
about that.
how old is your daughter?
13.
Okay.
Nah, I don't want to talk about that. And to be honest, she doesn't really show any signs like she's leaning towards sexuality or anything like that. I just wanted to be proactive. So she has it. But then her older sister, who now is an adult, in the beginning, I was squeamish because of how I was raised. We didn't talk about any of that. I mean, it was just like what you were saying, Patrice, like, don't do it.
Yep.
You're going to hell if you do. And even after I had my children, as I was having, it still wasn't, like, it wasn't talked about. I had to teach myself. Like, I had to learn different things. And then when it came to actually thinking about satisfying myself or anything like that, or even the thought of that, actually, that started with my husband. Like, to be honest, like, he was like, because he's a truck driver. So he was like, baby, I'm going to be on the road. I don't want you roaming nowhere. Like, he would do that.
So, wait a minute. Are you saying he kind of, like, taught you how
Yes.
to... Oh, okay.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, he did. But then because of that, and it is true that we are sexual beings, I just started thinking about that with my daughters and my sons. I talked to, both about those things. And I just kind of, as they feel more comfortable, then I go into more details or more conversations. But I really stick to, when it comes to sex, I stick to a spiritual part.
Okay.
Because a lot of people talk about diseases. They talk about
The scare tactics.
pregnancy, right, the scare tactics. But
pointed.
to me, I think we should talk about more of just the truth of when people come together in a physical aspect, it's also mental and spiritual. And you're having that contact with multiple people if you start stepping out with multiple people. So
and you're also coming in that close, intimate contact. And if you're Pentecostal or Baptist, then you also understand spirits of things that attach themselves to you, depression, different things.
Yeah.
That can get because you're commingling with that. So you let them know that that's there. It's different for sons too. I'll be interested to hear.
It
what,
is. It
yeah,
is.
I have a nephew that I'm raising. He's 12, and so we've started talking about, that extra time in the bathroom and in the bedroom. He'd kill me if he ever heard this. But I just want to make sure, that's your body.
The extra time.
Private.
I don't have sons.
Long showers.
Long showers.
Yeah, you
with the
start
lotion
taking
getting
more of
missing.
Oh, no.
Earlier, you was
got
talking about
to
that.
know yourself.
You was
It's-
talking about
and
that
it's
Vaseline
natural.
earlier.
It's natural and normal.
or the dreams.
So the Vaseline
I'm
in
going
your
to defer
house
to
had
the
a
man
different
now. I'm going to
purpose.
defer to the man.
All right,
Yeah.
Tyra. So help us. Tell us.
Okay.
Tell us what it is for
like
y'all.
I said last week, we're a blended family. And me growing up, it was, again, that conversation never really came from my parents as far as what you do as far as quote unquote pleasuring yourself. It was something that we talked about amongst my peers. And amongst your peers, it was like, ew, that's nasty. You're not supposed to do that other than, ew, he had his, a wet dream or whatever. And it was like, oh my
remember
gosh.
that term.
Okay, we had that conversation. But as far as with me and my kids, for instance, like I have a conversation with my sons because in my opinion, it's a different day and time than when we all
It
grew
is.
up.
Right.
So
World,
they
where
are
you come
doing
from.
things completely different, completely a lot earlier than what I may have done. So yeah, I find it very important that I have a conversation with my children. And of course, they, like you said, they don't want to have that conversation. They say, oh no, they talk and they'll listen. But of course it's, I haven't done that or I'm not doing that. And it's going, yeah, okay, dude, I'm not a fool. I've been there,
Right,
done that before. I'm just letting you know what's going on. Now, on the flip side of that with my daughter, I'm scared. Like I plan to have that conversation with her because I feel like it needs to be a conversation that is had not only with her mom,
Yep.
but as well as her
Both.
dad.
Exactly.
Agreed. That's
So
good.
yeah, I definitely plan on having that conversation with my daughter. But as far as the touchy feely yourself type thing, I'm gonna have it. I'll probably be just as nervous as as I was with my boys, because I literally just had partial conversation the other day with one of my sons, and even I just asked, "Have you kissed a girl?" No, I haven't kissed a girl. Dude, don't lie to me. He's like, no, I haven't kissed a girl. I said, why not? Oh, because that's just not, that's nasty. Well, when do you plan on kissing a girl? I don't know, maybe college or when I get prepared, to be engaged. And I'm like, okay, if you are telling the truth, good deal. But it's good to have that conversation.
Yeah, I commend you and our your Patrice's other guest. Tamara, on that because the studies do show and support that parents that have that conversation, their children are less likely to engage in risky sexual behaviors. So
I better catch up.
I mean, they'll be protected. Put it that way. They might do it, but at least if you had to talk and told them what to do, they'll
Right.
do what you've told
They'll
them.
protect themselves.
Right.
So, Tyron, just real quick, so I have no sons, but I do have a nephew.
Right.
I remember, like, even as a baby, as soon as you change his diaper, he was in his diaper. He was fondling himself. And I remember my sister.
Because it feels good to them.
Right. I remember
It
my
does.
sister, like, talking to my
Physical.
It's no-
pediatrician,
yeah.
like, what's going on? Like, why my son doing this? Somebody
Nothing
touching
wrong
my
with
son.
him.
Like, actually thought maybe some molestation was going on.
The
And the
baby
doctor's
fine.
like, that is normal. Like, allow him to do that. And I remember, like, even as he got older, it was like, you allow him to do that, but you tell him it's within guidelines. Like,
In
y'all
the-
can't be sitting out in public in a restaurant and he's over there
bedroom
Exactly.
and the
handling his
bathroom.
business or whatever.
Bedroom
But
and
if
the
he's in
bathroom.
his privacy of his own bedroom or a bathroom, allow him that opportunity. So I remember then at that point, us kind of taking a different angle in regards to my nephew. But I don't ever remember anybody saying anything about girls. I can't never remember my pediatrician telling me anything about my daughters. Like, just know your daughters are going to want to play with themselves. And that's like, I don't
Well,
remember any of that
I
conversation.
think it's the over sexualized, like that double standard again, where you don't want to make your baby, a freak, so don't tell her to do that, you
Right.
know.
But again, I think it also has to do because you're taught for the most part. Well, I know for me anyway that it's wrong. You shouldn't be touching yourselves, whether you're a female or a male. If you touch yourself, it's wrong. You shouldn't do it. And it wasn't until later in life where I found out, oh, that's okay, right? But you're completely right. There are little boys, especially. I don't know much about girls because again, my daughter didn't come into my life until she was much older. But boys touch themselves, right? Because it feels good, and you're even
and they're
then.
sexual beings. Even from my nephew, when he was 4, he was watching Pamela Anderson on Baywatch, and he said, "Auntie,
Was she running?
What? Yep, in that orange onesie." And he's talking about, "Auntie, what's wrong with my wee wee?" And I'm like, "Ooh, baby, I don't know."
Right.
I'm
But see,
sorry."
at least,
Wow.
see,
He
my
said, "Talk
son,
to your uncle, because I can't help you with
my
that."
son is the same way. I felt good because he actually came to me and asked me, "Dad, I have my thing is kind of, what's going on?" I'm like, "Dude, it's okay," but I didn't encourage him to go rub it out.
No.
Like,
But you have to let them know and be comfortable with
Yeah,
their
I
body. And I
did.
think what
Exactly.
happens is we get
Exactly.
a guilt, like I said, attached to it because of the church and religion, organized religion, the way
Yes.
that socializes you to that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And then when you're right, you can't be right because you feel wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
So two
And that's
things
the
I want to
biggest
hit
thing.
on before we wrap up, and I'm
Okay,
gonna hear your
yes.
opinion, Ms. Turner. So two things I do want to touch on, but one is when we're talking about just going back to the church for a moment and talking about pleasuring oneself. So, and y'all can answer this or not answer this. So I do realize, it might be personal, you might not want to answer it. But like for me, and I know my husband was like so outdone to find this out, but I never, until a couple years into our marriage, I had never pleasured my own self. And the main reason is because of how I was raised. And I was just taught like I'm not supposed to fool with any of that. And that's my husband's job. And until I get to that place, that's saved for him. And then once I got to that place where I was married, it was like, okay, this is his job. Like, I'm not supposed to be, and if I do any of that, then maybe something wrong with me, or maybe I'm like extra kinky, and I don't want to be like the extra kinky person. Like, I'm trying to figure this out. So now I'm progressed much further than that today.
Be
Praise
free.
God.
I know, right?
But there was a
Hallelujah.
time where, I just didn't do it. And so I know that might sound a little strange, especially by the looks I'm getting. So
No, it don't sound
I'm
strange.
curious.
That's what I was
We
saying
fine.
for me.
oh, okay.
I that's where I was. I've always known, like, since probably 16, 17. I've always been a touchy person. Like, I always like that. But I know that 17, 16 age, I was like, a feelings there,
Yeah.
I want to do something with, but you were just taught adamantly, don't do it.
You'll go to hell.
And you'll go to hell, you're going to burn in hell. So it
Well,
was
your
like,
flesh is burning, so you're
Right.
supposed to deny the flesh.
and
There
so
you
you're
go.
not supposed to do it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deny,
Like a scare
deny
tactic,
your
I guess.
burning
Oh,
flesh.
yeah. So you're not supposed to do it. And so, no, I didn't. Now, I had a best friend, though. I mean, and she used to, Tam, you need to try such a, not me. Absolutely not. But she would try to tell me that, but I just didn't, I never engaged in it. I just, and like you, Patrice, if we were probably about the second year, third year marriage, and I mean, seriously, my husband was like, look, I'm a truck driver. You know, I might have to go overnight on the road. So I just want you to know that it's okay for you to do this, this, and this. And I was like, probably not. I'm not gonna do that because I wasn't supposed to do that. And you know, so,
But-
even though I was open, I've always been open about sex and all, but like that area, I was not comfortable. I wasn't comfortable, and then it was like just a ray of light.
Yeah.
And so I do talk to my children. I talk to all of them.
So
you know, and
masturbation
talk to-
like fell down like dun da da da.
like why?
Masturbate.
Bam. I mean, and I'm a sexual being too. I was like,
And you know what? I actually thought masturbation was just for guys. Like the actual word. Like I don't think I had ever
Right.
researched it.
It's from
or looked
Masters
at a
and
definition.
Johnson.
That-
Isn't it from Masters and Johnson? The two people who started the studies on
Oh.
orgasms
know
and
that.
everything
I didn't
else.
know that
It's
either.
a series on HBO. Go watch it because that's
Called
what.
what?
Oh gosh, I think it's called Masters of Sex is what it's called, but it's
Okay.
Masters and Johnson was the researchers that you know in the 60s came up with a lot of research based on masturbation. So I think it's from them.
with men.
Okay.
Men
Okay.
and women.
Oh, I didn't hear about the
Okay.
women.
It's women too.
See, I was
it's
just
women in
associating
I did
masturbation
too.
with like
Men.
men.
No. It
Like
was
the jacket.
both. It was
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
It was both.
That's all I ever knew.
And they
either.
wanted to know different things regarding the female orgasm, the male orgasm, how they, you know, everything. They went into the, you know.
Yeah. So let me ask you all this real quick, and I do want everybody's perspective on this. So some years ago, my husband and I attended this marriage retreat that was through his church. And I was kind of skeptical, but I'm like, yeah, let's do this. This should be fun. Like, I think this would be a good experience for us. And could not believe it was happening. But there was a part of the retreat where it was, so the whole retreat was done by the minister that's over the couples ministry at the church, right? So there's a part of the retreat, he has everybody to stand up and he has everybody like to hold on to your spouse. And he said, I'm going to say a prayer over you all. The entire prayer was sexually explicit about ways to enjoy your spouse and how he gave scriptures that he interpreted to be referring to oral sex, and there were scriptures,
I
about
pulled some, yeah.
actual intercourse.
Something
I
about the
could not
washing of
believe
the
it. So
feet.
like I'm praying while I'm listening,
Once they
like
wash it.
opening my eyes at the time, like what's everybody
Song
else
of
in here
Solomon
doing? Like, what's
is
going on?
riddled with
And
sexy
it's
scripture.
nice.
See, I
Sexy
had
scripture.
never heard that until this retreat. Okay, had you ever heard that?
No.
God,
I'm
I
with
had
you.
never
I'm
heard
like,
it.
yo.
God meant for you to do it and be satisfied and enjoy one another.
Enjoy it.
Yes,
I
he
believe
did.
that, but
Like,
I never
explicit, though,
didn't know
like-
that
Well,
this
King
was-
Solomon had what, 700?
Mm-hmm.
Was it the wives, 700 wives, and 300 concubines? Yeah, he got busy.
Proverbs 5:18 and 19
She can find
says,
the scripture.
Bring it
What
up,
it
honey,
say?
bring
let
it
your
up.
wife be a fountain of blessing for you. A fountain, that's a running over, gushing.
Water.
Rejoice in the
Squishy,
wife
squishy.
of your youth. She is a loving deer and a graceful doe. Let her breast satisfy you always. May you be always captivated by her love. That ain't nothing dry about that right there.
It's not.
Nothing. Nothing. So my
And there's
question
plenty more.
is, so after his whole prayer, for those of us who had never attended, everybody's eyes was like this. For those of them, because this was like an annual thing that they did. The rest of them were just like, oh yeah, that's just, you know.
Yeah, because they do that all
We
the
just
time.
pray. And I'm like, that was like, I feel like we should go to the room where he's like, we should not even still be like, this was crazy. So he kind of started talking about praying over your bedroom before having sex. And it was something I had never heard of, thought about. So I'm curious. One, I am aware that now y'all have at least heard of the scriptures, and at least me and Tyron were the only,
you better look 'em up.
Yeah.
innocent
Yeah,
ones in
yeah.
that one. So you've heard of the scriptures that describe different sexual acts. Do you ever pray before having sex? Because like I said, this was a prayer, and he was talking about, and Lord, just let her breast just be sitting up right, and I can just perfectly put my lips on her nipples and just suck. And I'm serious, y'all. I
this?
couldn't believe it. I could not
Right.
believe
Okay, I don't
it.
think I would have been
I need
ready
to go
for
to
that
this
either.
church.
Yeah.
Would have been ready.
So just tell me real quick, do you pray over your sex life, or not over your sex, like over the actual sexual act before you get ready to do it?
No.
Anybody
I
ever done that?
I have not. I've prayed after, but I have not prayed before.
Prayed
I think
Okay.
that that's
You
one
gotta
of
tell
the
me
things
about
where
that.
you be mixing James Cleveland with Marvin Gaye, and I don't think I would be able to do that way because it would make me think it in a different way. However, I have heard it done, especially with males who are trying to heal their wives, because physically heal them by giving them an injection of healing. They pray over themselves and then they go to them wives that their wife is sick. No, seriously, I've heard of it. I have family members who that's their practice. That's how they do that. So
Man. Well,
it's deep and spiritual.
never like a prayer like that, but I think I might try.
Look.
But yes, I have, but we haven't as a couple. And now Jason's gonna hear it, but like he might not. But I pray over everything.
Yeah.
Like I really do. Like and I've grown to that maturity in life because that definitely was not taught to me in my church. That's been on my spiritual walk to pray over everything. And a lot of people leave out sex, but
All areas of your life. Men
all
should
of
always
them.
pray without
true.
ceasing.
you should pray, and so yes, so like there have been some times like I'm thinking,
It's okay.
man, like I'm like, yeah, I want Jason now, and so I'm like, let me think about now, and I'll pray. I'll be like, God, let me do, yes.
Okay, so as we wrap up, because we are winding down. This has been a great conversation, so I'm so thankful that y'all came in and opened up with me. So wrapping up, just the last thought from each of you. Do you think that the way you were raised, we talked about the way our parents raised us, things the church said, what our spirituality taught us, religion. Do you think at all that would you trade it? Was it beneficial for you? Has it benefited your marriage? And if not, what would you change about it? And we just want to do like a minute each one.
It was definitely not beneficial. More depths needed to be gone to. I wish I would have been taught more about the marriage bed being an altar for healing, an altar for you to worship together, that love and sex acts in a marriage, in a healthy marriage, are actual acts of worship. I wish I had been taught that. And that the angels are singing and they are excited
They're
for you.
celebrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody told me that. That's something I found out once I got grown. I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about it. I wish I had been told.
Good stuff.
I don't know that I would trade it because I just firmly believe that everything has a purpose. And so if I hadn't have gone that path, I don't know where I would be now. Like, I don't know what would have came out of it. So I don't know that I would use the term that I would have traded it, but I could say that it didn't really help.
Okay.
Like, it didn't give me,
What you needed.
it didn't give me that, like the opening my eyes as to what it was supposed to be in marriage. So, no, it didn't do that, but I seriously doubt that I would trade it, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I would have traded it either. Like Tamara said, what I would learn growing up, whether it be church, school, my parents, whatever, helped me to become the person I am today. But to the both of you all's point, I wish I would have had someone that would have been more real with me instead of using more of the scare tactics. I think that would have opened my eyes a little bit differently to what I did do earlier on before I got married, as well as after I got married. I just would have preferred for the church and my parents just to be a little bit more real with me.
That's good
I
stuff.
think you give what you've been given, and so they were just giving us what they had been given, which
Right.
is more perpetrating of where we are.
But since we're all parents, then we can give something
Break the
different
cycle.
because we've
Exactly.
talked about this
Exactly.
thing. We can start breaking the cycle. I can start with myself. I take ownership for the work I need to do.
Pray about that thing first.
see,
I'm praying about that
Pray
thing
about that
first.
thing.
And
For
see,
real.
I think it's a little bit opposite. Like, I think our parents were scared of what they did and didn't want us to do it. So they were like, you're not going to go down this path. So they put more of the fear in you versus opening your eyes to it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Listen, I hope that you all have enjoyed tuning in with us today. I hope that this has been a conversation that has blessed your spirit and maybe is going to help you go forward in your own marriage life and your own sexual intimacy with your spouse. Join us as we continue just talking about all matters of marriage next week. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in. Continue to tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Please remember to continue to connect with me by going to Facebook and searching for Marriage Matters WGIV. Like our page to stay abreast topics, comment, and ask us questions. Did you enjoy today's show? If you did, tell someone about it. Show us some love on our Facebook page or via email. If you're interested in advertising on our show or being a guest, give us a call, 704-449-6542. I'm your host, the Marriage Coach, and you've been listening to Marriage Matters on WDRB Media and WGIV, the Soul of Charlotte.